Hello everyone, glad to be back here at the channel. Just so you know, I need to reach 1,500 subscribers. Currently at 1,400. If I don't reach 1,500, the evil sorcerer known as Sun Wei will break free and wreak havoc on this kingdom. So before this video is over, we need to hit like another, what is that, like another 100 or so subscribers or something like that. Really bad at math. Anyway, if you have not already, please click the like and subscribe on this video. And please, if you enjoy the video, please share it around. That also helps spread the good word. Now that said, what we're going to talk about today is actually not a Sierra game, if that's not already obvious. What I've done, if this is the first time you've landed on this channel and you're just a big fan of the Dragonsphere game and wondering why it's got that Let's Play Sierra Games name, originally when I started this channel it was literally to play Sierra games. I wasn't really doing anything with the channel. I was just playing Sierra games and recording it and uploading it and not really considering doing much with the channel. I was just doing it just to play the Sierra games and upload it just in case anyone else wanted to watch what I was doing. And much to my surprise, and I'm very thankful for it, the channel grew exponentially. When I reached like 100 subscribers, I was very shocked, and then it was like suddenly 500, and then at like 600 or 700 I started thinking, oh, maybe I can like try to get to 1,000 subscribers, which would be really cool. And I ended up reaching 1,000, and then it went over 1,000. So I'm very shocked and very thankful for everyone who has come to the channel and clicked like and subscribe and shared and commented. So thank you all first and foremost. But that goes to say, when I made this channel, again, I wasn't planning on doing anything with it, but I realized if I just only played Sierra games, I would eventually run out of content to put on the channel. Now that I was actually like over 1,000 subscribers and wanting to do something with the channel. So I started looking for other adventure games that were similar to those that were from the Sierra type genre of adventure games. And so I've played a couple of non-Sierra games like the Legend of Carandia series. I played Blue Force, which technically it was by Jim Walls, who did make the Police Quest series. I did play Space Venture, which was by the two guys from Andromeda from their Kickstarter. And I've played a couple of other games that are not adventure games. Telwinium was another one from the folks over at Powerhoof. So that's why the channel is still called Let's Play Sierra Games, because that's what it originally started at. And that is still my main goal, but I'm going to sprinkle, if you will, other games that are adventure games. So here we are with a game by technically MicroProse, and it is Dragonsphere. And the story starts with, I didn't interrupt the intro because I wanted to let that intro play out before I started talking, but basically an evil wizard is going to come back and wreak havoc at some point, and he is sworn to do it to the king's son. Now we see that the king eventually gets old and the king passes away, so it now falls on the son, who is now the king. Let me tell you, I got this game when it first came out, originally, like way back in the day of 1993, 1994, and I'm pretty sure I did not have the CD version, or my computer, which was probably still a Tandy 1000 SX back then, could not support the CD version. So I'm pretty sure I had like the disc version, or I just had a computer that just could not handle the CD version. So I never got to hear the CD version until I started playing it for the channel now. And also, having, if you watch the original gameplay, it was 6 hours long, which is pretty long, but that involved me getting stuck a few times. And not stuck where it was a dead end, because this game has 0 dead ends, and if you read the manual it says there are no dead ends. It's something that they purposely avoided. And even if you die, when you come back, it puts you right where you were, so you don't have to ever technically restore or anything like that. I totally forgot my point. This is the downside of not having notes and just talking to it. Oh, that's right. I can say, having now finished the game, that I am confident when I first got the game, I never ever finished it. And I know I got past probably the worst part of the game, which is the fairies. You'll see when we get there, the fairies. And those of you who just discovered this game because of my channel or whatever, and you're interested in getting the game, do not judge the game for what happens at the fairies. Do not, because that is literally the only bane to this game, is that one small section. Again, you'll see it when we get to it in the game here. But this game, you think you're at, I'll say this, you think you're at the end of the game at a certain point, where you confront the evil sorcerer Sunway, and things happen, and it looks like you are ready to defeat him. But then something happens, and I'm not going to spoil it until we get there, but then something happens that literally made my jaw just drop, because I was like, I don't remember that. And as the game kept going, I was like, I don't remember any of this now. Like, most of it up to that point, or close to that point, was fairly familiar. Like, I could remember that I did a few things with the Butterfly King and with the shifters and stuff like that, but I do not remember that particular twist. And I'm pretty sure, had I ever beat the game, that particular twist would have probably stuck with me, because it was one I did not see coming, and I thought it was incredible, because I thought the game was almost over, and it turned out I was literally only at the halfway point. So Sunway, who is the evil wizard, sorcerer, if you will, he unintentionally reveals a big secret that shocks him and then shocks you, as I would think, shock you as the player. This game really, really surprised me, and you'll see, because it doesn't have the typing interface. Like, they made this game pretty much as easy as they could make it. Like I said, there are no dead ends, and should you die, it basically starts you right back where you just died, so you can actually correct your mistake. It doesn't force you to go back and restore or anything like that. Because of that, so there's no typing, which of course makes the game significantly easier. As I was playing this game, you can see that I'm literally pushing, like right there, I am literally pushing and pulling on just about everything, because there I was in the other room where I pushed the curtain and it revealed a secret door. Let me talk about this room here with the jail cell real quick. So when I was playing this first time here, well, not the first time, but when I was playing it for the channel here, and I got here, I was like, I can't figure out what to do in this jail room, and doesn't seem to be anything you can click on or anything you can do. And this is like right at the start. I'm like, clearly, like, something is here. Like, I'm just missing it. Like, there's nothing in this room, and there's nothing you can do in the jail room. But what is so cool is that jail room. How do I say it? I don't want to say it shows up at the end, but it is very important at the end, and you could technically miss it. And the only reason I go back to it is because I noticed when I did something, and I'll talk about it hopefully if I remember. When I did something, I noticed it didn't, I'll just say it didn't swim me all the way across the river. It stopped me halfway, as if I had a choice to do something more than just swim across the river. So it's easy to miss that jail scene. I was just going to point out that the guard that we just talked to, she has, like, it's hard to see in the pixel picture, but she has a huge scar over her eye, which seems absolutely insignificant. Just seems like a cool character detail. But that scar, that little detail, is something that pops up later in the game. They set up so much in this game that seems like something that is just not important. Like that jail room, this guard who has the scar, and this guy, I forgot what these people are called. They're not the shifters, they're the other ones that live out in the desert, who have their very unique language where their words can mean many different things. That part of the game was actually pretty difficult. And difficult in terms of you need to note all the things that you learn from their language in order to figure out what to do later. So, though it seems like they're talking to you in gibberish, it is something that you need to write down, is all I'm going to say. So when you play this game, when you talk to the pale-skinned people, definitely write down what you learn about their language, because you'll need it later. And then right now, that is one of the fairy people who talks about the Butterfly King and how we should go talk to him. And let me tell you, the fairy, again, I'm just going to say real quick, the fairy people are a test of patience. And so you can see the passage ahead. I am telling you. And this isn't even the annoying fairy. This fairy is by far the least annoying fairy. He's annoying because he's very childish in how he acts, and what you have to do is you technically have to be polite to him and basically ignore his taunting, and you just have to be the adult in the situation here, and he'll get bored of you and he'll say, fine, just go ahead and go, basically. But it took a few efforts, because if you get it wrong, he'll just tell you to go away. And here's the guards that won't let you pass, because beyond is the land of the shifters, and the shifters are people who can basically take shape of other things. And when you go into the shifter area, you'll see, if you look very closely, you'll see like trees that have eyes and rocks that have eyes. And you'll even see there's a rock where a wise shifter is sitting on. The rock on the far end will slowly have a face emerge, which I thought was a really cool effect, that it just kind of phases in and phases out. I couldn't figure out what to do with those guards, but what you have to do is you have to basically talk to them and say, I'll prove to you I'm not a shapeshifter by giving you something. I do like that when you go to the area, kind of 3D pops up the area. And this is, I forgot what these guys are called. But this was a difficult puzzle to pass. Not as bad as the fairies. The fairies are... I'm going to keep complaining about the fairies. Ecliptus, that's what it is. I'm pretty sure Lee means yes, because when you say, let's start the conversation over, he goes, Lee. So it is me just going to all the different areas to take a look. And you can see someone hiding back there. And this woman is a duchess. I believe her last name is Summers. And she offers to give her sword to the quest. And even though she is a duchess, we try to tell her to go away. And that she has this amulet and stuff like that. But she wants to aid the king. She wants to be a part of this quest. And she gives you her amulet, which you'll definitely need later. And then she says, until we meet again. But then she doesn't leave. And here we have a hermit who we will discover later. There is more to this hermit. In the intro, it talks about how, after the wizard casts a spell on Senway's tower, it talks about that the wizard, the king's wizard, who goes by the name of, let's see if I can find it. I want to say it's like Tor something Tom. Anyway, we discover that the king's wizard has gone and he is now missing. So, if you're not so savvy or savvy, you can kind of piece together that this hermit is undoubtedly said wizard. Which is weird, because you would think that the king's son would have seen the wizard enough to recognize him, even though it clearly looks like he's trying to hide himself within the hood. Now, one thing that I admit stressed me out in this game was, as you move around, the Dragonsphere is noted to continue to be cracking. So your daughter and your mother, they have conversations back and forth as you're kind of traveling around about the Dragonsphere cracking. And I was thinking it was similar to perhaps like King's Quest 2, where there is a bridge that you can only cross so many times before the bridge breaks and you pretty much dead end. I was wondering if I traveled too many times between the different lands, the sphere continues to crack and eventually it basically breaks and then suddenly gets loose and you lose. But that is not the case. That is not at all what happens. It'll eventually get to a point of where it cracks. Here's the fairies. It'll get to a point where eventually it cracks and your mother tells your wife to go away. So if you try to cross at a certain point without finding out how to do the proper riddle, you have to talk to these fairies to find out who tells the truth, who tells a lie, and stuff like that, and get their names, and the name is in the reverse order of the first letter or last name. This part of the game is horrible. It wouldn't be so bad if the fairies did not constantly change colors. It wouldn't be so bad if the fairies didn't change colors and also disappear behind the hedge. Like, why they change colors is beyond me. Like, why can't it just be the same fairy stays the same color and maybe moves around? That would be fine. Like, if I had to click on a red fairy that I just had to keep following, it'd be great. But the fact that I can click on that fairy and then 2 seconds later it turns blue and then 2 seconds later it turns yellow, and trying to figure out all the stuff was a literal pain in the arse. And I'm probably going to stop talking and just warn you that this is the worst part of the game. Without a doubt, it is the worst part of the game. And you just need to figure out how to safely pass. And I am pretty sure that I just did this and kept trying until eventually I walked through. So what I'm going to actually do is I'm just going to actually shut up and probably just speed this part up of the game even faster, because I would highly recommend, if you play the game, just Google how to pass this, because I can't even tell you how to pass it, because I'm pretty sure I just kept trying and eventually just got through on sheer stupid luck. And there we go. No idea how I passed. Just a lot of clicking on different fairies and trying to get through. So whenever you pass the fairy, the first thing you should do is save, so you do not have to deal with that again. Once you pass it, you can walk in and out through that maze area with no problem. And the discussion with the Butterfly King is weird and unusual, but they basically teach you some of the language of the Ecliptus people, and so you kind of need that. And then the who might you be, and you try to answer it. There is some weird parts to this game, I will tell you that. Like, again, probably the whole section of the fairies is probably pretty weird, and it feels very, I don't want to say forced, but it felt like they needed a game or a part of the game to be really hard, and they picked the fairies. Because this could have been way easier, and even the conversation's a little more sensical, if you will. I know I talked about how the game is great, and then now I sound like I'm bitching, but I really, truly, the fairy part is the only part I did not like. And it was probably mostly stems from trying to guess those fairies and how to pass. That by the time I got past, and then I talked to this Butterfly King who talks in riddles more than like any kind of normal person would talk, just adds to, I don't want to say the frustration, but the oddity of this part of the game, in which you are trying to get past these fairies that are hard to click on and change colors like in milliseconds. And then you get past him and you talk to this guy who is very nonsensical in terms of his questions and how he's trying to get stuff out of you. This part of the game, I mean, clearly you can see a crown there, but if you get, yeah, see, I knew that was coming. And see, this is what I mean by if you die, you don't have to restore. It puts you right back on the screen that you were at when you did die. But the section with the toads reminded me very much of, I believe it's in Space Quest 2, the giant mushrooms that if you walk too close to them, they eat you. Pretty sure that's Space Quest 2, because I think Space Quest 1 didn't have it. And I know it's not in 3, so I'm pretty sure Space Quest 2 had those giant mushrooms, but that's what those toads remind me of. And it's funny, the obvious answer, because you see them, like, catching flies with their tongue. And later on, you will encounter a beast that falls to his death. And when you walk by him, there are flies, and then not only that is the game makes a noticeable audio to draw your attention to those flies. You know, it makes this loud presence of these flies there. And you eventually end up with an empty jar. And so after having tried to get past the toad a few times, I was like, oh, now I know where to get the flies from. So I end up going back to where those flies are and trying to use the jar on the flies and trying to pull the body and doing all these things with the flies. And that's not where you get the jar of flies. You actually get it from somewhere else. Spoiler alert. But you'll see me when I figure out, oh, there's flies here, and how I go back to try to use a jar. Oh, and something I've considered doing is after I play these games and after I beat them, I was thinking that I could like zip the save game files, throw them like on a Google Drive, and then put those in the description for anyone who is interested in playing these games. They could have a save game to try to restore from. Like if you don't want to deal with the fairies, you can just load up my game and load it right past the fairies and do that. If that is something that interests you, I don't want to throw a bunch of save files on a Google Drive if no one's going to be interested in that. But I eventually want to go back and play all the other games I've played on my channel. Like I want to play the King's Quest series again, because when I first started my channel, like I didn't have a good way of like filming the King's Quest game. Even my editor that I was using, whatever it was, like 14 years ago, was I believe like the Windows Movie Maker, which only compresses in WMV, which is basically loses any kind of sharp resolution now. Now I'm actually using a video capture card, or a capture ability from my video card, and then I'm using the Movie Studio Platinum from Sony to edit and make the videos, which obviously creates a higher resolution of 1080p videos, which is the King's Quest did not have. And so even when I tried to reskin those original videos I had, you can see that they're just blurry, even though I'm trying to put them basically into a 1080p. So eventually I want to go back and replay like King's Quest, Lucius Larry. And I was even thinking that I would replay those games as a guide or a walkthrough, you know, because normally I play it without looking at walkthroughs or anything like that, just to play it raw. Obviously a bunch of the older Sierra games I have memorized pretty much 99%. But I actually want to actually make the videos like play guides, you know, and have like little chapter marks where if you're looking for this, click here. If you're looking for here, look at, you know, click this timestamp. And I was thinking I could upload the save game files too if people were interested in that. So if you are, let me know down in the comments if that's actually something you'd like to see me do. And so we're talking to the guards, and we tell them that if we give them something, that they will let us pass. And so the deal is, say nothing to me when I come back from the land of shifters. I'll tell you to give me back that which I gave you, which a shifter would not know. And so that's the deal. So when we leave, we have to make sure to get the goblet. And this is what I was talking about. When you go to the land of the shifters, you can see the trees with the eyes and the rocks with the eyes. And they have the ears and stuff like that. It's a pretty cool area. And then you have that obvious sea monster that will kill you if you don't do something about him first. So what you want to do is throw the shield stone at him. And when you do, it severs off 2 of his tentacles, which I end up walking right by. Later on, I'll discover I need those tentacles, and thankfully in this game you cannot dead end. If you ever get stuck, you have a signet ring that you can invoke that puts you right back in front of the castle. There's even a part where I jump down the well before I have I need to get a belt. That's a very specific belt in order to do other stuff, but I jumped down the well before I have that belt. And when I tried to get back up on the bucket, because you can see the bucket hanging in the well, I couldn't get back on the bucket, and I was like, oh no, I think I may have just dead end. Like, I can't find a way out of the well from here. And then I thought, oh, just use the signet ring. And sure enough, the signet ring teleported me back to the top, so I was safely out of the well. So there's literally no way to dead end in this game, because I'm pretty sure if there was, those tentacles that I walked by a moment ago would have been a potential dead end if this was a Sierra game, because they would have basically said you have no way out, pretty much kind of stuck. But with the signet ring, you can teleport and be like, oh, I can actually get there much quicker rather than descending down the mountain all over again. I can just use my signet ring to get back to the castle and move wherever I need to move. Oh, and then here's the wise shifter that I was telling you about that sits on the rock. He will teach you words of the Ecliptus. See how he says light north and then south is Fala? You need to write that down, because eventually you'll talk to that guy who's sitting in the desert, and when you say the proper phrase to him and say that you want to go see his people, he will give you the directions to go in the desert. So it's like west, west, south, west, west, south, or whatever. Actually, I have it. I think it changes every time, but I think I still have mine written down as to which way he sent me. Yeah, I do. I have it. So for mine, it was west, south, west, south. And if you wanna learn some Ecliptus from me, I'll teach it to you right now. Eclip means west. Fala means south. Eclipti means west. Fala means south. And then Popo Eclip means and west. So Popo means and. Those were the words and clues that he gave me, and then I have pictures of the diagram of the map you have to jump on. More on that later. But definitely write down what that old wise shifter tells you, because you'll need all these little pieces of language that you'll learn from him and others. And this is where he's giving directions. Let's see, so I'd said the right thing, because those are actually the directions. But I hadn't gotten all the words yet to understand that what he's saying is the directions. So even though I had the right sequence, I had not realized that the Eclip, Fala, whatever, was the direction. Until it took me, I think, a few tries. I had to write it down again when I realized, oh, what he is doing, he's telling me a clue. But the game begins to make you doubt your sanity as you're walking through the desert, but you can see the village at the end. What's cool about this segment is, again, they speak their language, and you can tell them, I don't understand what you're saying, and they'll actually speak to you in a normal tongue, which is cool, because even the guard speaks to you in a normal tongue, and then even their leader speaks to you with a normal tongue. So it'd be cool if the guy who was out on the desert, giving the directions, also could speak to you in a normal tongue, but he doesn't. I think the game just wanted to punish you enough that you would have to figure out that riddle by piecing together their language, and then once you do, they're like, okay, we're not going to punish you very much more. We'll go ahead and give it to you and assume that you know the language. Now this guy is really, really great. I love his character. Especially once you start playing the game with him, it is really, really fun because he's like, oh, I've done it again. And then if you guess incorrectly, he's like, oh, I'm sorry. If you guess incorrectly, then it's my turn. This game. Essentially what you're going to want to do here is play until you drink. And I did not realize that. And it ties to the thing I was talking about earlier with the flies. Because I was out of ideas, and so I came here in the game not knowing that I had to eventually, this is after many times of playing this game. I felt like I was stuck because I had gone everywhere else, and so I said, you know what, let me go back to this guy and play more games until he pretty much says, I have no more gifts for you, which is what I thought he was going to say. But he gets to a point where he doesn't say that. He says, oh, let's have a drink. And then if you don't quickly heal yourself, you'll actually die from the drink. So keep that in mind. Be ready to heal yourself, because you'll watch me as it says that I'm really drunk or whatever and not feeling well. I thought I had time. I thought I was just going to be, oh, okay, I probably just need to heal myself. I did not realize that the game had a ticker on it that was about to kill you. So you'll see me die when it gets to that drinking part. But pretty much stay here and play these games until he does the drinking thing with you. You may have to leave and come back. And every time I was losing, you'll see that I restore. Because he says, if you win 2 games in a row, I'll give you a gift, and vice versa. So if he wins 2 games in a row, I think I would have had to give him a gift. And I'm assuming because there is an assortment of small treasures you collect throughout the game that have no other purpose than when you look at it, it says, oh, this would be good for your treasure supply or something like that. I'm assuming that's what you would give him back should you play without restoring and he wins 2 games in a row. And there is a method to the madness of this game. He does mention the rules, like if the gem is correct, there's I think 12 of each. So if you actually count the gems, you'll start to realize which ones are more likely to pop up, but that's not what I did. If you watched my game, I was just randomly clicking gems. Usually I stuck to the 2 left gems because they were the most frequent to pop up because they had the largest opportunity of being a right answer. They're the lowest points, but they are the most often correct thing that will pop up because you have more opportunity. Like the red one has 3 options. It's like red, yellow, and green means you're successful. With the green one, I think you can only do green, yellow, and then the one that is next to it, I think you can only do that one in purple, and purple can only do purple. But purple gives you like 12 points. But if you guess wrong on the purple, then the other person gets points. But this is what I mean. Every time I travel, like, it starts to crack more. And this was nerve-wracking for me because I did not know that it's just thematic. It never actually breaks. You can travel back and forth all you want, and then eventually something happens with the queen and the queen mother and stuff like that. And so this was pure coincidence where I was like, is there something to do here? And I moved my mouse and I saw that you could climb the rocks because rocks looked different. Now what's interesting is that it pauses here and that there's feathers. And so I thought, oh, okay, that's what you do with the feathers. But then I thought, there's got to be something more, and you see that shadow that goes by. I love this whole segment, really. And this is the only time it does this. So after you climb up the first time, it does not do this again. It literally just puts you at the top and doesn't even do this part. But I thought, I just love that small little thing like that where he just kicks a rock down for no reason. It's something very bad's about to happen. Very, very bad. You try to attack, and he throws you aside, and so the Duchess jumps on him and clearly looks to have plummeted to her death. I thought she was going to be here in the nest, and like the werewolf thing would have kept falling. But they're not even at this bottom, which struck me as weird. Sure, they fell at an angle, but there it is. So you walk to the beast, and now you hear, I mean, you can still probably even hear it in the commentary version. The flies make a noticeably loud noise. And I thought, that's why there's flies. They're like, that beast died for the flies so that I could get the flies and use it with the toad. But that's not the case, just FYI. But you'll see me come back and try to catch those flies. See how loud that is? I also don't like how it walks around that waterfall. Like you try to walk in front of it and it won't let you. It does that, where it kind of walks behind it. Or it walks in front of it just a little bit and then goes behind the waterfall. So having seen that bird shadow, what that made me think is there's probably more to do here. And so you can go to the left where the werewolf came from, and there's one of those bird people which are called the shacks. And it's funny, I said, I imagine this goes poorly because I thought it was going to kill me. And what I don't understand is, like, where was this werewolf between this shack and where we come from? Because that waterfall, sure, it's huge, but does the werewolf live underneath? And it's funny because there's something to get here on this screen that I did not notice. And if you look at the screen, you probably wouldn't even notice it either unless you played the game and you're like, you're a dummy for not seeing it. But when I come back and talk to her, she says something about me being a mud person. And then I looked at the screen, I was like, well, that's a weird thing to call me. Like, why is what has typically throughout the game been known as the fair people, why would they be called a mud person? I didn't understand that. And then I looked at the screen as she said it, and I was like, is that mud behind the waterfall? Like, that area of the screen looks darker. And then so you'll see, eventually I'll come back to that spot, and indeed, there is mud to be picked up there, which I'm wondering if that's why she calls you a mud person, as just kind of a hint that you need mud. Because that part made no sense to me, why she would call me a mud person if King Kalish is what they known as people of the fair. You would think that fair and mud would be very opposite. And I literally need the mud right now because of that eyeball thing. And death. I like that it says you should close the eye first. So I like that. Yeah, my first thought was go stab it in the eye. Also, why did they make it so you have to walk all the way around the tower, other than just to be a pain in the ass? That's another thing in the game that's really weird to me, that they make you walk all the way around. Like that bramble that stops you from walking to the right seems weird to me, that they place that there, because it doesn't add anything to the puzzle. You just need to walk around the castle. It's just more of an inconvenience than any kind of puzzle. See, those flies are so loud. Like, even though I have the volume turned all the way down pretty much so I can do the commentary, every time we walk by those flies, you can clearly hear that. But again, nothing to do with those flies. Just FYI, don't spend your time. Nope, there's those fly sounds again. So seeing that nest and having seen the bird, if you try to rub it, doesn't work. If you try to clean it, use the sword to carve it up, that actually randomly changes it. And I should have placed that because the fact that the sword has the ability to carve something is unusual. You usually just have attack or thrust, but it says carve, so clearly that's what we had to do. And so this bird shares a history that they were once great people, and then their god or deity or their hero basically came down to them and gave them wings. But then when the wizard imprisoned Sunway in his castle, he also imprisoned the birds. So the birds were suddenly unable to leave. Which, if you watch the intro, again, it's the small details that they put in here that I freaking love. If you watch the intro, you will see a bird as the wizard is going there. And see, so that's where she called us a mud person. And I was like, that's mud. And so then, once I had the mud, I realized there's that saying, that's mud in your eye. And so clearly, that's what we needed, it was the mud. But anyway, going back to the small details, is in the intro you see when the good wizard places that beam or this wall or protection, this dome around the tower, you actually see one of those bird people flying around prior to that happening. So it's kind of cool that, you know, they have these little small details of what they thought of. So that's me making a reference in the save game about mud in your eye and how she called me a mud person. And here we find another power orb. Because we know, as already alluded to if we were paying attention, that when the Queen Mother says, oh, I have a magic sword of sharpness I can give you, your wife says, well, we all know that Sunway can't be killed by a wizard, or killed by a sword. It's something else that will kill him. Okay, randomly a rat comes out of the rat trap that's still alive. Now what's hard to see is inside that trap is another dead rat that if you look at it, it tells you. But trying to click on the dead rat to take him, to do something with him, it's a little bit of a pixel hunt. You have to get between those bars, or otherwise it assumes you're clicking on the cage. So I wish that part of the cage was maybe tore open by the rat, so you could clearly see where to click. And if you put the rat into the freezer just randomly, it turns into a rat-sicle, which is weird. There was nightmare fuel for a brief moment that seeing those components on the shelf over there and this thing to mix, that we were gonna do another Freddy Farkas thing, but thankfully we don't. This did take me a while. What I was trying to do was put the flask under that little nozzle, which is not what you have to do. You actually have to put it on the metal plate, but this took me a while because clearly there's something to do here. And I don't know if there are any hair metal fans out there who may have noticed how I purposely spelled the word rat with R-A-T-T. So if you know that rat, if you are a fan of rat, and especially if you like the Out of the Cellar album, let me know down in the comments what your favorite rat song is. And I'm saying rat, not rap, by the way. R-A-T-T. So now we have this flask. I finally figured it out. I try to be funny with my save games with don't do acid, kids. I love that. You can walk to the light, but it doesn't do anything. There's another one where it's a room where it looks like you can't do anything, but it'll come into play very soon. And it puts the torch in the wall automatically. And there's nothing, once you put obviously, I was gonna say it already happened, but obviously you can see that the floor is glowing, so there's like some kind of protection there. So I tried to use the sphere because it says it can take magic from, but that doesn't work. Some of these puzzles are easier than others, but I thought this one was actually pretty cool, that you use the acid. And see, now we have an empty flask. You know what that empty flask could be used for? Catching flies off of a dead werewolf. But now what we're going to do is we're going to totally Mission Impossible this and tie a rope, scoot down without touching the floor, and get the power orb. And then it doesn't let you take the rope. Tied a really good knot. And we see a rat run into the room, and then he basically is incinerated. Which, spoiler alert, is going to happen to me too, because I couldn't figure this out for a while. Because, remember the tentacles that I said I left behind? Guess what I need right now? Yeah, if you said those tentacles I left behind, you're right. And we'll eventually get there when I'm trying to figure out, like, what am I missing? Like, I try a number of different things and I die a couple different ways. I thought maybe cooling it like that works, but nope, that is instant death. And it, again, great thing is it teleports you right outside. So trying to figure out what it is to try to use here. Trying to see if this machine is perhaps what is causing like the heat in that room, because, you know, obviously we can see it looks like it's coursing with electricity. It looks like there's wheels to turn here, but you can't actually do anything with those wheels. So you can see me clicking on all the different things that I can try. Invoke the ring and then figure, alright. And this is again, the Dragonsphere is cracking more, and the dragon seems very uneasy in there. I tell you, this was so stressful for me. Head to the shifter land. Do the same thing where we give him a goblet and then we'll walk down. And this, I think I see it the first time I walk by. Yeah, I see my cursor goes over it and it says there's tentacles there. But just in case, keep walking in case I'm missing anything else. The Y shifter is still there, so we can talk to him again. But he's really got nothing new to tell us. I even think if you try to leave without retrieving the goblet, it'll actually tell you that you need to retrieve the item you gave them. Again, with all the cracks. And the dragon stressing out does not help with the stress factor when you're playing this game, and you don't know that it actually will never crack. The good thing is, once you confront Sandway, that bramble over to the left is no longer there. Again, it's one of those things that I honestly don't understand why they did that, like why they're making you walk all the way around. It'd be one thing if you had to walk around because you had to do a puzzle on the right hand side other than talk to them. So that was totally not what I thought was going to happen when I put the tentacles on the thing, because it still doesn't do it. Like, it's still hot in there, so we still have something more to do. And so I'm still trying to figure out, the only thing I can figure out is we have this teleport door. What if we put it on that door? And sure enough, that is an insane puzzle, by the way, to think that that was it. And then you lose the teleporter door down the waterfall, which you would think would be easy to get because it's at the very bottom where the wizard is, or I'm sorry, where the hermit is. You'd think we would just be able to go there and get it back. Also, why was water coming in? I know there was one from the hole, but it also looked like it came in from the window, which doesn't make a lot of sense. And then, again, I thought when I was playing this, I thought we're at the end. Like, this is Sunway, you know, cool. I thought, you know, we beat him, the girl who jumped to the ledge, she just gets better, and we have a happy ending. But no. He jokes about your puny sword because the Power Stones are his only weakness, which we have plenty of. I think we have 3, 4. And Nurtom, that's the name of the wizard. And so this is the reveal where he pulls and you find out you're not King Kalish. And he calls you the Faceless One, which indicates that you are actually a shifter. And again, this goes back to the intro, where at the very last thing we see at the intro is we see King Kalish lay down, and then the door opens and a shadow that clearly looks like it could be a wizard is standing in the doorway. Now, I'm not going to spoil it yet. Obviously, Nartom, whatever his name is, did something. And it'll be revealed a little bit later. And this took me a while. I think I died 2 or 3 times. And I have to go through this whole thing every time. It took me, I want to say like 2 or 3 times to figure out how to get past this segment. Because he takes the Power Stones away, and then he thinks he's all good, but you still have 1 Power Stone, and then tried to throw it at him, tried to use a sword, tried to siphon the magic, and then blah, killed me again. But it's so great that the game literally puts you right back there. And by the way, that was a surprise twist that I was not anticipating. And then there's one more twist coming that is more predictable. And if you see, your wife and the Queen Mother know that you're a shifter. They know that part of this whole conspiracy thing. And then she wants to wake King Kalish and say, oh, Sunway's defeated, you know, we're safe, and now we can celebrate the shifter as a hero. And the Queen Mother basically says, well, it's a shame that you're too stubborn, but I have to keep you alive just because I can manipulate you and use you later. I'm putting my atrocious son onto the throne. And so you realize that your wife and the Queen Mother knew about this. And so that's pretty cool. And then you'll find out more from the hermit, aka obviously the wizard, who lives beneath the waterfall. Now, I will say we're not there yet, but there is a part, has to do with beneath the waterfall, that normally I pride myself when I play these games on not looking at walkthroughs and stuff like that, and struggling through it, as you've seen several times that I've died and how many times it took me to get past the fairies. There is one part that is under the waterfall where you have to recite something, and it's from a story that we read in the very beginning, and it's probably not as noticeable, but if you go back to not just the intro, but a little bit past the intro, you'll notice that the resolution, you can see now the black bars on the left and right, it's very thin. But if you go back and watch just past the intro, for a good while that black bar is much larger on the sides. And the reason being is I had started playing that shortly after I talked about it on one of my channel updates, saying, hey, I'm going to play Dragonsphere. It's going to be cool. It's going to be great. But then life got super busy. Good news, I got a promotion at work. Yay. I now have people who report to me. Yay. Then I had one of those people who was a temp move to a different team, which made me shorthanded one person. Boo! And I was pretty much told, you're not getting another person to replace that person. So it has made work pretty busy, but I don't mind. I don't mind busy. But on top of that, I picked up running, I want to say like two more D&D games. I picked up running a Star Wars 5e game for some friends, and then randomly, so I've really gotten into, there's the folks at Free League, which is a RPG game company who make pen and paper games, and they've got a whole mess of incredible games out there, Aliens and all these other ones, but they also did The One Ring, which is based off Lord of the Rings, and if you know anything about me, I love Lord of the Rings. And so I bought all the 5th edition Lord of the Rings books because that's what I was normally playing, was D&D 5th edition. And everyone was like, oh, the One Ring version, which is different. Same game system. Or sorry, it's the same company, but they have their own game mechanic that is the One Ring that is different than 5th edition. And they all say that that one was better. And so finally I bought the core rules and I read it and I was like, I really love the core rules. These are like really cool. And I ended up buying all the One Ring versions also. So I have all the 5th edition and all the One Ring versions. And so I just gotten into that probably 2 months ago. And on one of the One Ring Discord servers, people were looking for someone to run a game. And I said, hey, if you find anyone, tell me. I would like to play in the game also because I just got the books and stuff like that. And they asked me if I've ever run it. And I said, no, I just got the books. But I've run D&D since like the dawn of time. And they said, hey, would you be willing to run this game? And I said, well, I don't know it that well yet. So, you know, especially for people I don't know. Like if it was my friends, I would feel more comfortable running. You can see I'm talking because I keep dying here. Even though I have the map, I keep looking at it wrong. It took me a moment to realize that I was looking at it upside down. Anyway, so they had asked me if I'd run it, and I said, I don't really know the system. You know, if it was my friends, I wouldn't mind, because I don't mind making a fool of myself in front of my friends, but, you know, 2 strangers that I don't know, I'm less inclined to want to make a fool of myself. But I ended up doing it, because I love running games, and so I'm still learning the One Ring. Thankfully, they have played together, and so every time I had a question, they're being super nice about explaining, oh, this is what a great success is, this is what a piercing blow is. And they're very patient with me, but I'm essentially running the game and they just help me out with some of the rule mechanics. So anyway, that said, work and the amount of games I am running has made it very busy. And then, as if that wasn't enough, my wife is really into audiobooks. And so I started reading the Dragonlance Chronicles books, and I thought, oh, you know what? Why don't I do this as an audiobook? And so I've been doing 1 chapter at a time. But granted, the first chapter I did was like a year ago, and then like I didn't do another one for like a year, and I started picking it up again. And it is usually like 2 weeks between doing chapters because I'm so many other things that I'm doing. I am someone who cannot be bored. I don't like being bored, so that's why I have like a YouTube channel, the Dragonlance thing, and I run so many D&D games, is I cannot not be creative. I like being creative and doing something with my time. But what happens is I split myself into so many pieces that I never get anything done. This is why like my YouTube channel kind of fell on the wayside as I was doing so many other things. All that to say that when I was talking about the bars on the left, you can see here it's thinner on the and it's bigger on the other ones. It is because I eventually came back to play Dragon Age and I found a way to run it at a better resolution than how I had originally started, but I'd already started playing and I didn't want to go through the fairies again, so I just kept playing at the higher resolution that I found out how to capture it better. That was a long story. And here I've bought enough time to say this is the part that I had to look up because I could not remember the phrase that is literally near the beginning of the game. It's like one of the first things you do when you're walking around. You can read one of the books and there's a phrase in there that talks about love and whatever. And I kept getting close, but I could not figure out the but no. That but no was throwing me off. But once I got past the but no, and I saw how the phrase is, because I didn't think it would say but no, I had to look that part up. So I Googled what is the phrase that you say to the Duchess. I can't remember her name. And it provided that answer for me. So I did have to look that part up because I could not remember what the frick that phrase was. The but no was throwing me off. But then you heal her, and then she says, hey, what happened? And then, you know, he says, be thankful, he saved your life. And she's like, well, you know, where's King Kalish? And you're like, weird story. I am King Kalish. I am King Kalish who you met, but I'm not actually King Kalish. I'm actually a shifter who was in this form. And then basically Nartom, or whatever his name is, explains the whole story as to how they picked you as a shifter. They picked you as a younger child or a younger person to become King Kalish and take that form, because usually shifters cannot take the form of people. They can only take the form of other objects, if I remember correctly. And so that was the goal, that you would be King Kalish, and it would be you who would hopefully go and slay Sunway. And if you didn't, you know, oh well, at least King Kalish is still okay. And if Sunway killed you as a shifter, he would have thought that he got his revenge, because he, as far as he's concerned, he had killed King Kalish. Or King Kalish, or the king's son. And this is where he basically explains the whole story. And then she says, you have to leave. And then you say, well, I can't. You know, I feel like I was King Kalish, and, you know, I want to help him because I feel connected to him. And it's kind of cool because she's a duchess and she has her own army, which will come into very, very important moment. And then she gives you a clue that you must know the secret name, and that she wrote it down basically and gives that to you. And there is a beast that you will have to deal with. And it's funny because I was expecting like a very horrible, disfigured, terrifying beast kind of thing that I was going to be dealing with. But it literally looks like a dog on a lead. So that was hardly terrifying and hardly scary. It's pretty funny. So we use a signet ring, and here's the girl with the scar. And she says, hey, I have to arrest you. They said you're here to kill the king, and you're a dirty shapeshifter. And you basically say, I am a shapeshifter, but that's not what I'm here to do. I'm actually here to save the king. And then she says, well, why would they tell me that? And you tell her, you know, they're trying to frame me. And he says, essentially, is there something I can prove to you that I can prove that I am good and I can take something that you want to be rid of? And if you don't do it fast enough, is my guess, she will kill you. But what you want to do is use the doll to heal her, and it takes her scar away. I wish they would have slowed down a little bit so you can kind of see the scar more. And she says, you know, oh, you've done it, you've taken away the scar. And what's funny is she'll say, give it back to me. That it is something that she earned, and it's part of who she is. And so she wants that scar back eventually, and so you'll have to give her the scar back, which I thought was kind of cool. It shows that she is not about her vanity, even though she asks, you know, how do I look? And see, it says it's a badge of honor, it is pride, it is mine, give it back to me. And she says, it's my decision, give me back. And then so there you go, you give her back that long scar across her face. She does mention that you can go, and this is what I was talking about earlier, about you can go down the well or whatever. But I have no way yet to cross the river because there's something else I need first that I did not realize. And this is where, for a moment, I thought, I'm stuck. There's like nowhere else to walk. But then it invoked the signet ring and it teleports you to the top. And now you'll notice after you've talked to the guy's no longer here. And now you just need to walk one screen west instead of like the actual directions that are given. And then he says, you know, do I know you? My guards tell me that you are a friend of King Galish, which is weird because you didn't tell him anything about that. But, you know, there you have it. Amazing, you baffle me with your words. His dialogue is the best. If you watch it in the normal speed, his dialogue is so great. Oh, I've done it again. Again, I restored because I lost, and I was restoring only because the rule is, I think, if whoever wins 2, they have to give a gift. Essentially, I was just trying to make sure I did not have to give any gift, because I don't know if I'm supposed to, at this point, I don't know if I'm supposed to give away those treasure things. But I'm guessing that's what it is. I would probably have to look at a walkthrough to see if you do lose 2 games in a row, if that's what you'd be giving as those small little coins and stuff that you're finding. But I think still yet I'll have to come back to him one more time, I think, when I get the 2 things from him, because I get 2 random things. One of them is a statue that we use. Can't remember what the other thing is. You can tell on that one I was worried because he was at 15, so I just stuck with red to just keep getting the easy one. So yeah, there's the statue. Can't remember what the second gift is from this one, because I think he already gave us the dates or whatever. That time he dominated. He got to 25 because he actually got a purple, right? Yeah, see, this is what I mean. There's like a jewelry, so I wonder if you can give that to him, because I don't think that ring, from what I remember, plays no other part. See, I walked away, and there's... well, so there is still more. So they basically tell you how to recreate the spirit bundle thing that they need to take you to the spirit plane. Trying to see if anything's changed. And no, they'll still eat you if you get too close. So this is where I think I have the smart idea of using the flask to capture the flies. See, there's the loud flies again. So I end up restoring and seeing if there is more to do here. Which there is. There's the ring, so we need to play 2 more times to get a trinket from him. And this time a jar of flies. This time saving, since I have a jar of fly things, and see if there's more to get from them. There it is. So it gives you the flagon thing, which we'll need, but when you drink from it, you have very little time to actually heal yourself. And see, died. And this time we survived drinking that. And then he says he's pretty much out of wagers. So now we know we've got everything out of him that we can possibly get. So now we're going to do the fly thing. We're going to use the signet ring. Or just walk. So you're able to get the crown, and now we're able to move on away from these toads and pretty much be done with the entire fairy portion altogether. You never have to come back here. So you know that these guys like gifts. So what you do is you give them a drink, and if you watch, you basically heal yourself. And they pass out. Now ideally, I'd like to think that they only drink enough to pass out and not die. Because we know that we drink enough to kill us. So now the wise shifter is gone, so things have changed. There's that cool face in the rock. It's the same vision we saw before. And this thing says you have to demonstrate that you're a shifter. So it says, you know, you say I don't have my ring so I can't shift. And it says there's other ways, so clearly we can heal, because we've done that before. So we heal it, and then it lets us. And then you find out that your name is Pid, from, I want to say her name is Gertha. And she basically explains guards came and kidnapped you. And that they took you away. And now you explain that you've been framed by the kingdom, and she says, well, here's your ring, you better get out of here. So there's your shifter ring that allows you to shift to bear, snake, or seal. We already know where the seal comes in, because we've already jumped down the well once without the ring. So seal for water well. I will say that I tried to push and pull on everything that was on screen. Just writing down what I need to do to make the spirit thing. Because I have bone and feathers, so. But we clearly need something else. We need the magic portion of it. Now we've used the magic to shift the magic into it, and now we have a new spirit bundle that we can tell them. You tell them I'll give you the bundle. And we're traveling in the spirit plane. Now it's important to note that you need that map, and it's cool because the game actually does not let you leave Sanwei's chamber after you defeat him, because it tells you that there's something interesting in the room. Now it doesn't tell you what is interesting in the room, but it tells you something is interesting in the room, so you have to look at the map, which is that map there. And what's cool is it's the same pattern. It's that same map, works on the previous thing we had to do, but also here. But it's a matter of finding out which one you have to jump on first to see which way you're looking at the map to see if it's upside down or not. And the good old Indiana Jones reference. Why did it have to be snakes? But clearly we saw that the shifter ring allows us to turn into a snake, so it's pretty cool. Use it immediately. This took me a while to figure out. Because even when I figured out what to do, I didn't move away fast enough and ended up dying. And because the bird is called a rock, I called myself between a rock and a hard place. When you listen to my channel, these are the type of jokes you get. We can siphon the magic, and the bird eats it. Everything seems good. throw some dates. It seems like it's stuck. And then we get it. And then we died. But again, it's cool. The game just picks up with the fact that the bird is stuck. And what you have to do before you walk away is put the black ball there so that when it does notice that it's gone, it does not kill you. And what's cool is on your way back, you don't have to jump over that thing again. They make it pretty easy for you to be like, okay, you've already proven it once, you're good to go. And it even does it at the first time too, because you make it once and then you can just jump down. So now we turn into a seal. Now see, it paused in the middle, which meant that there was probably more I could do. And that's me being funny with the oh well, because we just jumped down a well. Again, these are the jokes you get when you're listening to my channel. So we invoke the crystal ball, and then we shatter it, and there is a emerald in there. Again, like some of these things, they just look like they're a collection for your treasure. And you notice the spears at the back. See, I noticed see that. So I know there's more to do. And so I thought, okay, let's try to go down here. And sure enough, you do. And again, remember that jail cell that I walked down and I couldn't figure out what to do, what the point of it was? It's here now at near the very end of the game. You find your wife in prison, and she basically reveals everything. Her, you know, that the Queen Mother wants to put her other son on the throne, the cruel and bloodthirsty one, McMorn, I believe his name is. And then when you ask her about how do I free you, and she says, don't worry about me, free the king, his spirit is frozen. So need to figure out what to do with those things in the back, because I already know as soon as I walked, yeah, I knew that death was coming. So I need to figure out what to put there and put a heavy statue, which apparently is heavy enough to keep that down. And there's the evil beast, which again kind of looks like a dog with a big tail or a cat. And you say speak the words and he goes back. And then there's the actual king with his soul is gone. And when you talk to the queen, she says that and you go, oh, soul, huh? Which is funny. Basically it breaks him, and then he talks about his soul as well. I think it's not the queen, it's him, yeah. So the soul is still trapped. Which then just kind of gives you that clue of using the soul egg. And then you reveal to King Kalish as to what happened. And then that her real plan was always to leave him in suspended animation. This part was a fluke, that because there was a key and, you know, a crown because the king. That was a fluke guess that I needed to wear the crown, because it didn't do anything the first time. The crown was like one of the few things I hadn't already used yet, and we are very, very near the end of the game. But I'll die here again, which is fun. Like I didn't mind these deaths because thought I had the right idea, turn into a bear, but then he's like, oh, we're prepared for shifters. And you're like, oh, I'll use my sword. And then he laughs at you. And if you try to attack or thrust or whatever, he will... I mean, half the fun is playing these games and figuring out what the frick to do. And I thought this time, oh, if I have the crown on first, then press it. No, you actually have to press it, do the crown, and then press it again, which is weird. Shift into a bear, he counters that, and then what we're gonna do, draw your sword, and he laughs about it. So okay, fine, invoke the amulet, and then you think it's over, and you know the King Kalish is bummed that his father was slain, And then the Queen Mother's like, oh, how touching. However, let me warn you, all the guards in the castle are totally loyal to me. All your personal guards were sent to the high tower to look for you. So now the whole castle is basically run by her and her men. And should you do anything, you'll die. And then she said, basically said you need an army. And then the Duchess shows up and says, oh, an army? By the way, my army's standing outside the gate ready to take down the Queen's men. And so in the end, you as Pid are adopted by King Kalish as his son, and to basically inherit the kingdom. And then you get to marry the Duchess. And that is how Dragonsphere ends, and I got 250 out of 250, which is insane. But I think this game pretty much makes it so it's almost impossible not to get a full score, because you can't dead end anywhere, so you get points for everything you do. But again, this game was a very pleasant surprise of how much I loved it, except for the fairy part. I freaking hate the fairy part. But I am really glad to have finished this game, and here I am doing a commentary about it, which was a lot of fun to do. Except for the fairy part. If you've played this game, let me know in the comments what you thought of it. Did you play the CD version that had the voices, or did you play the diskette version, which does not have the voices? What was your favorite part of the game? What was your least favorite part? And if it's not the fairies, you're lying. Let me know in the comments down below. And if you have any suggestions for games, also let me know in the comments for that as well. One that someone had told me about is MicroProse also did Rex Nebula, which I think I have a copy of. But they also did a Phantom of the Opera, which it plays like Gabriel Knight, which I may check out for this channel. So, thank you.